Oh, hi guys. Ugh. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far. Sorry to pop back so quickly, but the super exciting, much hyped and much talked about Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit in the Sculpture edition has just burst through my letterbox and I had to immediately share it with you. If you are interested in the Sculpture Unlocked, that's the quad, the mini ambient lighting edit palette, then I also have the previous edition of this, the Unlocked full-size palette, which has those same 4 shades within it. So I'm going to be showing you swatches of what that quad will look like, as well as taking you through the big Daddy palette, the one that we are always obsessed with every year. This year's collection includes this large palette, the standard palette that they release every year. This has 3 of their permanent shades, and that is the 2 ambient lighting palette, which is dim light and diffused light. It also has one of their permanent blushes, which is mood exposure down here. Then this middle blush is a new and exclusive to this palette. The bronzer is new and exclusive to this palette, and this highlight is new and exclusive to this palette. So I'm going to be doing a full demo and review of this large Daddy palette, but before I do that, let me take you into the Sculpture Unlocked palette. So Sculpture Unlocked, which is the mini quad that they released this year, effectively comprises of this in this palette, but instead of this ambient lighting powder, it includes this ambient lighting powder. So the shades in the quad are Soft Light, Golden Bronze Light, Mood Flush, and Champagne Strobe. So effectively, this is what Sculpture Unlocked looks like, but instead of this ambient lighting powder, it's this one swapped round, and that would give you the quad. So as far as the comparisons between these two, whether you need the new Sculpture if you already have the Unlocked, whether you need the mini Unlocked Sculpture if you want to pick up this one, or if you plan to pick up this one, that's what we're kind of going to try and get to the heart of. So the differences between these two, the Unlocked and so therefore the Sculpture Unlocked, have one of the metallic strobe lighting highlights. So the highlight in the Unlocked or the mini Sculpture Unlocked will be much more bright beaming metallic than the highlight in the Sculpture Ambient Lighting Edit, because this is just their strobe highlight. It's not a metallic formula, so it's much more natural. So the highlight in this new larger Sculpture palette is going to be much softer, more natural and skin-like than the metallic highlight in the Unlocked and in the Unlocked Sculpture, the quad. So as far as whether this palette is going to be any more inclusive or any more suitable for deeper skin tones than the Unlocked palette, I think the answer honestly is no. I'm afraid not. I think actually the ambient lighting powders are lighter. The bronzer is a better tone. It's more of a reddish tone than the warm tone that is in Unlocked, but it's no deeper necessarily. Both palettes have a lighter and a deeper blush, one that might work on deep skin tones but not the deepest, and one that won't work at all, and both highlights will probably be fine to work on deeper skin tones. So yeah, I definitely don't think it's necessarily any better suited to deeper skin tones than what we've seen and become used to from Hourglass, which is a shame, as I feel like a lot of people from the original, including myself, from the original photo that we saw of this palette, as usual, it looked as though it was really going to be the deepest palette yet, and it was really going to work for deeper skin tones, certainly than we've seen Hourglass producing these palettes before. I have heard rumours, as usual, that there is going to be a second release from Hourglass, maybe a second one of these palettes, maybe a blush palette as per last year, but I have not yet seen them officially, but I would expect to see another palette. Let's all hope and pray it's more suitable for deeper skin tones, but at this point I think we have to assume that Hourglass really just aren't listening to people and really aren't listening to the feedback and the people crying out for palettes that will work on a deeper skin tone than a medium. They also released a Confessions lipstick duo, which honestly just didn't appeal to me that much. They weren't really my shades. The packaging is amazing, but it's just not typically my kind of lipsticks, so I did not pick those up. I also find them insanely priced. Is that just me? So this whole collection is currently available on Hourglass's website, both in the UK and in the US, and apparently will be launching in all of their stockists: Sephora, Cult Beauty, Mecca, SNK, and anywhere else that I've forgotten that stocks. Hourglass will be getting this collection on the 25th, so it is coming. There's no need to panic buy. Watch reviews first, decide if it's going to work for you, if it's something you need, whether you have something similar or not, and you can always pick it up at a later date. I'm sure it's going to be around on those websites in the next few weeks, and I don't think it's going to sell out instantly. I'm going to start off with bronzer first, because obviously that's how I would normally apply my makeup, and I'm going to be using my Sonia G Face Pro and going into that bronzer, and very easy to get in there. This is a big old brush, no issues with that one fitting whatsoever. So today I've got on my Shiseido Synchro Skin in the shade Citrine. I'm like, I guess, an NC40. Right now I'm kind of between summer and winter shades, so about an NC40 for reference, but all my foundation shades are listed down below for you. It's a nice bronzer. I mean, it's definitely not overly glittery, which sometimes Hourglass bronzers can be. It's also not taking a huge amount of building up, but it's quite clearly not a bronzer for deeper skin tones, because this is about perfect for my skin tone. Now, if you are lighter or fairer, obviously it's easier for you. You can go in with a lighter hand, and also the way that these are laid out, you can easily swirl into the top of that ambient lighting powder and tone it down. If you have super fair skin and you want to use a lighter hand with that bronzer, that's easily done, but obviously deeper skins really don't have an option. That looks so nice. I really like the tone of that. It's definitely a more natural bronzer. It's not super bronzy. I'm layering it up to get the effect that I want, but it's a very pretty, nice and natural finish. Not super glittery or anything, just a natural skin-like finish. So next I'm going to dip into this highlight at the top here, and I'm going to use my Sonia G Fan Pro for that. This looks like a super natural highlight. Oh, not that natural, I guess, on the skin. It's definitely not like this metallic formula. This is more of their regular strobe. So although I went in with a heavy hand there because I thought it was going to be even more natural than that. So this is a more regular hand. The first side I went in with a heavy hand. Wow, that is, oh, that is pretty. That is gorgeous. I think this is my favourite Hourglass highlight that I've tried, you know, because the previous Unlocked palette that I have, it's a metallic strobe powder, and it's just too much for me, that formula. This regular strobe highlight is much more like up my street. I love the tone of this. It's much more of a sort of melting into the skin highlight as opposed to a blinding streak, because it's too light for my skin tone. So I think for sort of medium skin tones, this palette's going to be beautiful, perfect, and the highlight is going to work gorgeously on medium skin tones. On lighter skin, I think it'll be fine as well. You just might want to use a lighter hand. And also another trick is to use this highlight before bronzer if it needs a bit more sort of working with your skin tone. So just to make sure that we're completely uneven today, as well as my eyes, let's go in with each blush, one on either side. This Mood Exposure blush from Hourglass is a bit light for my skin tone, but we're going to try it and see. It's hard for me to get this one to show, but I will try and get a bit of a subtle, softer blush by using a heavy hand with it. This is my Cheek Pro from Sonia G, by the way, and then going into that middle shade, the coral, which I think will work better, yes, for my skin tone. And I'm using a heavy hand here so that we've got something to see when we use those finishing powders. So what I'm going to do is take my Inoshigi, or however you say that, who knows how to say that, anyone, from Sonia G, and I'm going to mix these finishing powders together, tap off, and I'm going to use this to buff where we've got some harsh lines and just to kind of blend everything together. So you can see where that blush might be a little harsh. I'm looking a bit shiny at the moment because I did my makeup like 8 hours ago. Blend everything together and kind of tone down any shine if, like me, you're partway through the day as like a freshen up of your makeup. Okay, so here is a really close-up look of my skin. I think this palette looks gorgeous, super natural. The bronzer is beautiful and natural. The highlight is like my perfect dream highlight, exactly what I like. Smooth, melting into the skin, not too beaming, not too bright, just enough and pretty. Absolutely beautiful. As you can see, the blushes, once gone over with their finishing powders, are really soft on me. Obviously they'll be bolder if you have fair or lighter skin, but deeper than me, they really aren't going to show a huge amount, certainly not on tanned or deeper skin. The only other thing I thought was worth comparing this to actually is the blush quad from last year, and I really hope we get another one of those this year as well. So I'm going to just show you these two blushes from the Sculpture palette. So here are the two blushes from the Sculpture palette, and I'm going to swatch this one from the quad from last year's Ghost collection for comparison, and then this shade down here from last year's Ghost quad. Okay, so they aren't that similar. Let me try this pink, the other shade from the Ghost quad. No, totally different. Okay, so I mean, these are actually closer, to be honest, but yeah, they are definitely different to the quad. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the Sculpture palette. It is beautiful. I definitely prefer it to the Unlocked palette, I will say that. And the reason being that the highlight for me is just far more my type of highlight. The bronzer is far more my type of bronzer, my tones, that kind of thing. And I love this blush. This is right up my street, as you know. The other blush doesn't really show on me, not really my kind of blush, but the same really goes for the second blush in the Unlocked palette. So yeah, for me, I definitely prefer this one. And I think the finishing powders are really, really beautiful in this one as well. Dim light and diffused light are really like their two kind of most loved finishing powders, so I think that they were the correct choice to put in here. They will work for fair to medium skin tones, and obviously you can choose the lighter or the deeper if you have lighter or more medium skin, but they obviously aren't going to work on skin tones much deeper than mine. As you can see, they are lighter. As it does every year, this works beautifully. It's beautiful on the skin. It's a lovely item to have. The packaging this year is back to the gorgeous packaging. I know lots of people hated this Ghost packaging from last year, so you'll be pleased that we are back to the gorgeous, sleek, hourglass, sexy packaging this year. I really don't honestly think you can buy one of these palettes and be disappointed unless you really didn't know what you were getting, or if you have deeper skin and you're really hoping this is going to be the one that's going to really work for you. But I think if you have fair to medium skin and you know what this is and you understand the powders, you're just always going to love it because they are just so beautiful. They're such beautiful powders. This is no exception, and it's definitely my favorite between the two that I have, the Unlocked and this year's Sculpture. So I hope you found this review helpful, and I'd love to see you in the next video. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.